Okay, in between my dinner of cheese and crackers, I'm going to cover some books here. Um, this is How to Hypnotize Yourself and Others. Techniques for Solving Over 350 Problems from Quitting Smoking to Curing Insomnia by Rachel Copelan. Now, I mainly wanted to cover this book because this was my first hypnosis book, and I picked this up at a used bookstore in Dallas in 2007. Um, and This was one of the first books I ever got that I really poured over, trying to figure out, the nature of some of the hypnotic stuff. And having grown up, as I've talked about in previous videos, without a television, one of the things that really got me interested in understanding hypnosis was understanding the link between hypnosis and induced dissociative states and television. Because television is an induction tool. Television, if you watch people as they're watching television, which is hard to do because you'll find yourself watching television, television induces an altered state. And it's a mild altered state. Obviously it's not turning anybody into trained killers, but it is designed to put you into a trance state and be much more susceptible. And one of the flashing light, there's all the things that you'll notice a lot of places have televisions mounted up at above normal eye level. So if you're sitting, it'll be mounted slightly above. And a lot of restaurants will have it up in the corner. A lot of bars will have a television up in the corner. And that placement, now a lot of times that's just purely for practical reasons, but that placement has a specific effect where hypnosis is concerned. When you look up to something, you naturally become more suggestible. And it goes back to our, when we were children, looking up to our parents. So that automatically puts you in a slightly more suggestible state when you're looking up to something. And then the process of watching something that is not interactive, you have to, it's almost like listening to a parent lecture you. Even if you're hearing something funny or something sad or whatever, the fact that you can't interrupt it, you're having to listen to it in real time. Again, pre-TiVo era, when television comes on, you have to stop what you're doing and push all critical thought out of your mind so you can absorb all this information coming at you in a steady stream. So that naturally makes it much more difficult to engage in critical thought, because the idea that you might miss something is putting you at a deficit already, that you're having to stay focused on what's incoming right there and then and there. Now, if you want, you can kind of challenge that these days with things like TiVo or DirecTV and stuff that'll allow you to pause live television. But even then, that's assuming that you have the wherewithal to do that and think and stop it. But you can't, as you do in normal conversation, you can't stop somebody and say, wait, explain that. Wait, what did you just say? Why did you say that? Why are you saying? You can't ask for clarification. You're having to absorb all this in real time. So anyway, that's where this comes into play, this book. I found this especially time. This is a good intro book into all things hypnosis. This is definitely intended for the lay person, as it were. But I'm just going to read the first part of this. Habits and Hidden Hypnosis. We have all been secretly hypnotized. Yes, you probably have too. Unless you are one of those rare individuals who has never watched a television program. Most people drift into a common everyday trance when they gaze into the light of the TV tube. Indirect hypnosis manipulates the minds of millions of unsuspecting viewers every day. Surreptitiously, subliminal persuasion leaves its mark upon the collective subconscious. Ideas implanted by commercials affect the health and behavior of us all. We eat, drink, dress, and make love based on what we see and hear. Television has the power to lull the mind into a state of exaggerated suggestibility, opening it up to behavioral control from the outside. Billions of dollars are spent each year in the United States to push products we could live better without. Intelligence notwithstanding, we allow ourselves to be coerced into consuming products dumb animals would run from. Sleep inducers, fat reducers, uppers, downers, painkillers for every part of the body. TV, in fact, can train the brain to anticipate pain even when you feel fine. Advertisers are well aware of the basic principles of hypnosis. 1. Relaxation. 2. Concentration. 3. Suggestion. It's simple. As we sit relaxed and concentrate on the light, we absorb the suggestions directed at us. During such periods, we are extremely vulnerable because we enter a hypnotic state of consciousness, alpha. Have you ever noticed how often a commercial is repeated? This is another principle of hypnosis. Repetition enforces suggestion and finally engraves the behavior into the reflexes of the nervous system. The dictionary defines habit this way: an act or practice so frequently repeated as to become relatively fixed in character and almost automatic in performance. Every moment of the day and night, newspapers, billboards, radio announcers, and television commercials are implanting harmful habits deeply into the mind. Inevitably, we become outer directed instead of inner protected. The average person spends 15 years of his life immobilized, gazing at the television tube with childlike faith in what he is told. Periodically, every few minutes, day after day, specially trained voices, ringing with sincerity, assure us that their pills and potions are the panaceas. Some people become so convinced by this colossal put-on that they buy things they never heard of. And I'll end with this following paragraph. Surveys estimate that U.S. pharmaceutical companies spend billions of dollars each year to promote over-the-counter drugs. Headache soothers, nerve smoothers, uppers, downers, sleep inducers, and weight reducers are incessantly pushed on the unwary consumer. We are psychologically tricked by motivational researchers, social scientists, and psychological consultants to lose control of our appetites. Substances we could live longer without, such as alcohol, cigarettes, and fattening foods, come to seem indispensable. Why do we deliberately do harm to our health? So anyway, that is how how Rachel Copelan kicks off this book. And that is all very interesting, given that this was printed in 1982. So again, if you want a good intro into hypnosis, and this is by no means a book on mind-controlled assassins or anything like that. This is just a basic nuts and bolts book explaining the general practice of hypnosis and how that works. But just that preamble there in the first chapter is really telling about how television is a hypnotic medium, and how hypnotists are well aware of this fact. And that this was a generally held belief or generally held understanding some 40 years ago. Whereas now, I think if you brought up the idea that television is a hypnotic medium, most people would laugh at that and say, oh, that's crazy talk. And probably follow it with something like, if television was hypnotic, we would have heard about it on television. Thus proving the point. So anyway, I find this, especially treatment like this, very telling in that a lot of her opening salvo there, if you were to adjust those numbers for today's audience, that's really terrifying. And when she says 15 years in front of a television, I'm sure it is way, way higher now. And of course, she's talking about over-the-counter drugs. And now, thanks to relaxed legislation, you can now advertise prescription drugs on television. And it's amazing to me how many people will see that and think about this stuff and never never really understand that they've been manipulated, but they'll suddenly think maybe this is the thing that they should be taking. Some of these prescription drugs that they never would have thought about before, but now they're primed through hypnosis to go into their family doctor and say, gee, I heard about Prilosec tonight, and that sounds like that may cure what I'm dealing with. Instead of heartburn medication, maybe the problem is a diet of carnival food. But anyway, so I'll keep this one short. This is a fun little book if you just want to get a quick introduction to hypnosis. Again, for me, this has historical import in that this was literally the first book I found when I started really digging into hypnosis and wanted to really kind of unravel that. And I remember being really shocked that she just kicks off the book saying, oh yeah, by the way, television is hypnosis. So anyway, fun book, and I'll try to get more into my hypnosis part of my library soon. Over here behind me, and just a quick for those of you who stayed with me to this point in the video, I'm getting all my books organized in my new setup here. And over here behind me, this is a mind control and hypnosis section right here, with of course some books on Freemasonry as well. And there's a lot more than that, but that was what I could put right here. These are kind of some of the main part of my hypnosis mind control section that I typically am going to reach for when I'm trying to figure something out. And of course, I've got my plush COVID-19 vaccine stuffed animal. I don't know if that's an animal or what it is, but it's a little vaccine vial that my wife picked up for me when she was out, and thought that was extra creepy that there was actually a stuffed vaccine vial for the true believers, I'm sure. And just a fun little look around my room. I'll see if I can pan with my camera. Over here this is another section of magic books that I'm trying to get organized. And right here, this is this is an actual period magic poster from a buddy of mine that collects magic posters. That I got that from him. That's actually, I think, an old French magic poster. So I collect magic posters too that you might see here and there around. And then up there on the wall, that I'm trying to see what's in here, and is this is Harry Anderson's autograph that I got at a magic convention, I think just about a year or so before he passed away. Super nice guy. Harry Anderson was a complete gentleman, and really cool guy. Anyway, really, really sad when he passed away. So I was happy to get his autograph and some of his books there before he passed on. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. There's a that's of import to this audience. Let's see. You can't see it very well, but up there, that picture is a caricature of some guys I used to work with that all at a magic store. That's all of us. And that caricature was drawn by a guy who, at the time, was an artist for 7-Up and Dr. Pepper. Around the time that those little spots, I don't know if you remember the early 90s, they had the little 7-Up spots that would become animated and all, and he was had a role in creating some of that. So anyway, as I go through some of my future videos, I'll try to there, I'm back to centered again. As I go through some of the coming videos, I'll try to cover some of this because I've got a lot of weird stuff around here, and some of it that has some really neat history, some of it that some of you all might appreciate. Like this pocket watch up here, which I don't know how well you can see it. I'll have to get out of the case sometime. My dad got that for me in Russia. After the wall came down, he went over there to teach some business seminars and do some mission work, and that was 97, I believe, and he came back with that watch. And I also have the Russian equivalent of the Pentax K1000 kicking around here somewhere too, camera. So anyway, I know that's way beyond the hypnosis book, but like I said, for those curious, if you're curious about some of that, I've got some weird things around here. My room is full of that, and what I've tried to kind of recreate for my own creative enjoyment is in 1983, I believe it was, in spring of 1983, I went to my very first magic store, and that was when I was first getting into magic tricks and all. And my parents, I kept bugging them about it, that my dad had heard that there was actually, I didn't even know this, but he had heard that there was an actual magic stores in Dallas and decided to take me to one of them. And there was a place in Dallas called the Magic Dragon. And this place was just packed full of crazy magic apparatus you could see just behind the counter. And the guy, I believe the guy's name was John, that ran the place. This guy was real, he was one of those kind of guys that was always really frustrated with your very presence in his store and didn't really seem to want to help out at all. But he kind of grew on you, and you would grow on him. If you developed a relationship with him, he'd show you around his store. But his place was full of just amazing apparatus, and I've always wanted to recreate that for myself, because I remember that always just put me in this mode of just immense curiosity and amazement at just all this crazy stuff. So that's kind of, I like to think that I've maybe recreated a little corner of the Magic Dragon here in memory of the late John, I can't remember his last name, that ran the Magic Dragon. So anyway, all of that is a huge aside to how to hypnotize yourself and others. Obviously, totally off topic, but there you go.